Welcome to Arrowhead Stadium. Post-game coverage, preseason Game 3. Mitch Holt, this Josh Looney. 44-14 Seahawks win at Arrowhead. Mitch, 2 weeks' time. Right here on this field, the Chiefs look dominant. Last week they struggled in St. Louis. They struggle even more against Seattle tonight. And it's kind of these guys, it looks like, how do we get back to where we were 2 weeks ago?
Well, you got 2 weeks. So it's a two-week deal, because now you got 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks to Red Friday. The real Red Friday, and then just before the Atlanta game. To me, it starts with the defense. I think so, that's where you got to start for the point. Seattle scores on its first 6 possessions tonight, 3 field goals and 3 touchdowns. Running the ball, Russell Wilson's going to break some of those. He had 58 yards on 2 carries, but it's the turban runs that get you, because that's what Michael Turner can do with the Atlanta Falcons here. I think you start at the defense, you start with the run defense, and then you got to look and see who's healthy. Because what you don't want in the preseason are injuries at all, but when they stack up, either at a position or on one side of the ball, that's when you get really, really concerned. Yeah,
I felt a sense of urgency in the Chiefs locker room tonight. Not necessarily a panic, but interesting after a preseason game. I think they're kind of feeling like, hey, wait a minute, what's happened these past 2 games? You mentioned Russell Wilson, and this is something that's concerning to me with the banged-up secondary. Last week, Sam Bradford finishes with a quarterback rating over 140. Tonight, Russell Wilson, 134.8. Sure, the Chiefs were without Kendrick Lewis. They were without Brandon Flowers. But at the same time, the quarterbacks are being very efficient over the last 2 games against this Chiefs secondary.
Yeah, but I think it starts with the run. I mean, the Chiefs are at the bottom of the league now in defending the run in 3 preseason games. I know it's the preseason, but if you're going to say after the Arizona game it doesn't count, but it matters, after these last 2 weeks, you got to say it doesn't count, but it matters. And yes, you've got to shore up the secondary, but it starts up front with that front 7 and shoring up the run game, man. That's where it's got to be. And then you kind of start front to back, because if you don't stop it up front, it's going to be really hard to stay in the ballpark with Atlanta.
And not to me doom and gloom, you mentioned stopping the run. 2 defensive linemen leave this game with injury. Anthony Toribio had an ankle injury. They took him into the locker room. He did not return. Glenn Dorsey had a left knee injury. I guess the good news on him, he never went to the locker room. He watched the 3rd and 4th quarter from the sideline. So I guess if you read in between that, that's some good news. But yeah, that's the injuries in the secondary, and they start to mount a little bit. And you're right, the clock is ticking of this team towards the regular season opener.
And you got to get people like Jaleel Brown ready to go. He played a lot tonight, and then he got injured when he moved to the right corner on that play at the goal line against the Seattle receiver. But he's going to have to get ready to go. You don't know if Brandon Flowers can get back. Got to get him back in a hurry. He knows about Kendrick Lewis, whether it's the base or the sub package. Right now, I'm just focused on the defense. Offensively, they got to protect better. But they did have the 17-play, 80-yard drive, which was good. They got into the hurry-up. McCluster was a factor. Baldwin was a factor. Castle moved it around, but then they did have the 2 turnovers when they got down there, the sack and fumble, and then the pick 6. But right now, I mean, the thought was, hey, the defense would be really good and the offense could be complementary. Right now, it looks like the offense might be the first paragraph in that first week against Atlanta. I know there's one more preseason game. There's cuts coming up this weekend. Cuts coming up next weekend, but I cannot get the Atlanta Falcons out of my brain. Ever since the Tamba Hali suspension on Monday, it's been Falcons, Falcons, Falcons to me. And going home tonight and this weekend, it's Falcons, Falcons, Falcons to me.
Not much to like about this game in any phase. I guess we will end on a positive. Dexter McCluster. A lot of people point to John Baldwin as being the training camp MVP. I say, you know what? I've been more impressed with Dexter McCluster. He's had a good preseason. He was really kind of the lone star tonight until Nate Each just grinded through that 4th quarter drive and got a standing ovation from some of the fans that were left. It immediately becomes a fan favorite as these cuts come through. But Dexter McCluster, talk a little bit about him and what you've seen this preseason. I think that is one positive you can draw from tonight.
Well, there were tons of questions about what happens with Dexter. Now, what do you do with the additional guys you have on offense? Well, they've found what they want to do. He's a slot receiver. He's done a good job of running routes, and he's a good job of catching the football in traffic. And Matt Castle's got confidence in him. Against Atlanta, they're going to have to move the chains. They've got to get guys, whether it's the tight ends, wide receivers, or Dex in the slot, they've got to stay on the field and get productive plays on 1st down and move the chains on 3rd and short. And Dex right now is a real viable weapon in keeping the chains moving, or even to get a bust down the field like he did against Arizona on the deep out.
That's a short week for the 4th game. Thursday, August 30th in Green Bay, and then it's over. And then it is Atlanta Falcons time. It's getting closer to that open day. Stay with us on KCChiefs.com.